Good day everyone, my name is Jing, matrix number 278164. So among the companies in Malaysia, I have chosen a glove manufacturer company, which is the Comfort Glove Berhad as the company for this assignment, and we can figure out its performance through its determinants. So the Comfort Gloves Berhad basically is the glove manufacturer and the trading company which is specialized in the production of gloves. It has been becoming the leader production of gloves among the rivals as the company had been using the natural rubber as the material. The gloves can be found in various types of length, colors, thicknesses and also quantity in order to satisfy the needs from the consumer group. The company had been providing gloves for the industrial sector and also medication application. So for the problem statement, there are three problems can be found from the company. The first one is there's a high demand of gloves and masks throughout the COVID-19 pandemic season in order to prevent themselves from the viruses. The second problem is there's a shortage of workforce due to the shutdown of international borders during the pandemic seasons. The last one is there's the exploitation of workforce and causing the employee to leave their workplace. So there are three objectives from this research. The first one is to investigate the impact of internal factors towards the company. The second one is to investigate the external factors which will cause an effect towards the company. And the last objective is to investigate the relationship between the internal factors and the external factors which can cause an effect towards the performance of the company. Regarding to the question of the assignment, the first question is there any relationship between the internal factors and the performance of the company? The second question is there any relationship between the external factors and the performance of the company? And the last question is there any relation between the internal factor, the external factor, and the performance of the company? Alright, so for the literature review, there are 6 elements in it. The first one is the corporate governance. It is to control the conflict of interest between the board of management and also the investor. The second part is the performance of the company. It can be shown from the ratio like the ROE and ROA, and it can show the ability to transform the sales into profit and also the returning rate of an investment. The third part is the liquidity risk. It is to associate with the liquidity of a company within a short time. It is to maintain the inflow and outflow of the money of the company, and if the company did not handle the liquidity risk well, the company will suffer a great loss. So for credit risk, it is relates with the delayed payment of a company, and it is mostly influenced by the external factors like the unemployment rate. For the operational risk, it is the separation between the management and the ownership of the company, as it is also considered as the agency cost of the company. It will cause a significant effect towards the performance of the company. The last risk is the market risk. It is the chance where a company will suffer a great loss during the inflation season. For the methodology, there are 4 types. The first one is the sampling technique. It is to utilize the data from the annual report from a company which is the Comfort Gloves Berhad in the year of 2017 until 2021. I have been utilizing the income statement and also the balancing sheet from the annual report. The second method is the statistical technique, which can be figured out through the internal factors and the external factors. For the internal factors, the example are like ROE, ROA, CG index, and the operating margin ratio. For the external factor is like the unemployment rate ratio, the inflation ratio, and so on. The third method is the utilizing of data analysis. The first equation is the internal factor, the second equation is the external factor, and the last equation is the internal and the external factor. So for the last method is the utilizing of SPSS. So through the SPSS, the statistical table, coefficient, and model summary can be built through the system. For this review statistic, we have been using the mean and the standard deviation to figure out the performance of the company from year 2017 until 2021, which is 5 years of time. So among the scores of ratio, the ROE and the ROA signifies that the company is having a good growth for the future goals, as the ROA is greater than the ROE, and the company had been utilizing and equalizing the liability against the return of the operation efficiently. So, for the operating margin, the company had been earning approximately 70% of profit from the operation. However, the debt to the income and the average collection period is not a good sign for the company growth, which signifies that the company is not good in managing the debts of the company. There's a high volatility in the debts also. So regarding to the interest rate of the company, it can influence the cost of the investment too. For the exchanging rate, it implies that the cost of purchasing the suppliers from the foreign countries is also affecting the company profit. For the CG index, it implies that the company have more accessibility to manage the company financing internally and externally and contribute to the sustainable economic growth. So for the correlation, there are 4 ratios which quite significantly cause an effect towards the performance of the company. The first one is the ROE. ROE, the ratio is lower than 0.001, which is very significantly will cause an effect towards the financial status of the company. The second one is the average collection period. As the coefficient is negative, the dependent variable will decrease when the value increase. So the third one we're going for is the operating margin. So for the every 0.001 generated, the company will earn the profit of 0.001, which is the same ratio back to the operation margin. So for the last one is the CG index. As the coefficient is positive, it indicates that when the independent variables increase, the dependent variable will increase also. So for the insignificant one, for the internal factors, it includes that the current ratio, debt to income, and the last one is the operating ratio. For the external factors, it includes the inflation rates, unemployment rates, the exchange rate, and also the interest rates. So in the model summary, I have been using ROA as the dependent of the whole study, but throughout the study, it realized that only the internal variable will cause the most significant effect towards the performance of the company. The ratio which is contributes to the powerful percentage is the CG index, the current ratio, and the operation ratio, as they had contribute the adjusted R-square percentage in about 95% towards the performance of the company. So for the coefficient of this study, 3 models have been using throughout the study. However, none of the variables will cause significant influence towards the performance of the company since the p-value is greater than 0.1. Among 3 models of variables, the model which has the nearest R value towards 1 is the internal variable. The second one is the internal and external variable, and the last one is the external variable. So the correlation table, the average collection period, operating margin, and also CG index has caused a significant effect towards the company using the dependent ROA. So for the coefficient, there is no variables which will cause significant effect towards the operation of the company. In conclusion, no objective have been achieved throughout this study. Thus, the internal and external variable will not cause an effect towards the company. For the recommendation of this company, I recommend the company to lower the cost of operation and eliminate unwanted assets from the company. The company can adjust the payment cycle and tighten the credit policy in order to collect debts from the customer. Besides, the company can change the short-term debt into long-term debt so that the company have more time to settle their debt. The company should develop a strong work relationship with the suppliers, especially to adapt to the changes of the season, like the sudden outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Lastly, the company can develop new types of product in order to attract new range of customers into the industry. That's all from me. Thank you.